Ba Ba Booey. This is Cowboy Ba Ba Booey. And I'm at my Sensei Al Bob's more favorite kind of breakfast spots. And if you haven't gone and seen Living Off the Grid, that guy is really a cowboy, right? He is truly a sensei cowboy. He always has a good message. What's this? This is a homage to Miss What's her name, who is part of the Grand Ole Opera. What's her name? Yeah, whatever her name was. She always had a hat with a label on it, and this is my cowboy hat with a label on it, right? So now I have a good friend. Hey there, buddy, who loves my sense of humor, but I'm now at a point where we as Sensei Al Bob says, we're in this window of 40 days and 40 nights, and all kinds of things are going on, from the weather to earthquakes to the fires in California, to the politique. Lock her up, lock her up, lock her up. Come on, Trump. But lock her up, lock her up. Hillary. They should all be locked up. We told you the story of when Sensei Al Bob in the 80s had a friend who was a big time politico in New York City, and she would have him go to these events so he could read people and give her the 411, how to deal with them. And that's when he met Hillary. And Hillary was such a reptilian that, it caused the magician and the FBI guy, to empty their colon and their stomachs. And Sensei Al Bob kind of got out of the way of that, but when he turned around, he bumped into Hillary. She had come all the way up to where they were and said, "I hear you can read palms." I mean, no one in that room except the lady who had me come and read people knew what I could do. So there are things going on. People don't seem to be what they are. Downey Chimp, he's a poor little child. If you look at his history, he went to a military academy, right? And there's a picture of him when he was, a senior. He's wearing the uniform, and man, he's got so much braid on him. He looks like, a transvestite in a chorus line, So go take a look at that picture, And then, he was all for the military. He could have joined the Vietnam thing, but he had bunions. So, but, what's his name? Mr. Ketchup, Mr. Hines, Mr. Kerry. He went to Vietnam with a movie crew. He wanted to be JFK. He was in the army, but he was on a swift boat. So all of these guys, we have the best legislators money can buy. And that's what it is. This little thing that got passed by the Koch brothers. Where corporations now can give as much money as they want and don't even have to say how much or who they gave it to or who gave it. Citizens United or whatever, colloquial term, we are way past living we were in 1984 and 1948 when the book was written, Orwell. Anyway, but that boy, he wanted, the dystopian world that he wrote about is the world that he wanted. He came from that reptilian family, So he was basically putting it into the collective consciousness of this is what's going to be. Right? So where we at, we are there. When we were there in 1948, the whole idea of doublespeak, I love George W. was the best at it. No child left behind. What does that really mean? Every child left behind. I live in a cowboy neck of the woods. For that high school, I try to get the young men of like between 18 and 21 to help me out. And they can't even read a tape measure. Not that they can't see it. They don't understand fractions. And when I went to talk to a lady she goes, well, we're all about the SLOs, the tests. They passed the test, so they graduated high school. I said, yeah, but they can't do anything. What do you, they don't have music, they don't have art, they don't have, home economics, they don't have, and the girls, there's a family, great grandma, and the girls, right? 3 generations of women all had too many babies and no men there. So there's, right? And so there's grandma and her 2 daughters, and those 2 daughters had 2 daughters. So there's 4 women who have children. So they got 9 kids there. And everybody gets food stamps, and those girls go up and buy, and everything they get is processed food. They bring home like 90 boxes of macaroni and cheese, where the box probably has more, vitamin than the macaroni and cheese. And I told the story. I went over there and fixed Grandma's washing machine so I could wash my clothes. And as I was doing that, I picked the last things of my garden and things from the woods, and I brought it over there, and I made a big salad, and I made a fruit salad, and then I made a stir fry, and the girls came back with their boxes and boxes of processed food. So our kids won't eat that. And when I gave it to the kids, wow, this is great. Oh, you got more? I said, I made a big stir fry. I said, sure, here. And this one little girl said to me, what is this? And I said, that's vegetables. That's a stir fry. She goes, what are vegetables? Now, this is all going down. This isn't, just by, ooh, it's too bad. No, this is all being, planned and executed. And we're the ones being executed, So, Sensei Al Bob is always talking about, not always, but he's been talking about this window of opportunity. And, if you go and listen to all the guys like, the best one I would say is David, what's the guy? Corey Good and David Wilcox. Well, those guys really have the story down, Corey Good is supposed to be a space cowboy. I don't know, he cowboy. And they're talking about, these factions of the secret space program and da-da-da-da. Now, the thing about propaganda, best propaganda is propaganda that's 70% truth and about 25% opinion and 5% lie. That's where the propaganda lies. Right? So, you, the observer, the artist in the first person, the co-collaborator of love, have to step back and get a perspective. Don't let things get in your grill. And every morning, like I woke up this morning, this was like a painful day. Everything in my body is like killing me. And when I get up, I kind of, I sound like I told one of the girls here, I said, boy, I sound like my mom. Because my mom, when she, last 4 years of her life, when everything was kicking in, we don't die like a light switch. It takes a long, slow journey, right? And that long, slow journey is for you, it's put there for a reason, for you to get ready, to appreciate where you're heading to next. And that is really most people's problem, is that they have no idea where they're heading to next. They have this illusion of, oh, I want to be a movie star. I want to be a hunk. I want to work out and look really good. I want to, but they never do. And they keep saying, I want to, I want to. And, I've been doing this for 30 years and it doesn't work out. Well, maybe you should try something different, right? So, Wilcox. So, it is pretty when I've had the men in black show up on my doorstep a few times. And instead of freaking out like these guys are obviously a genetically cloned robot. Very similar to the Greys, right? But instead of being little short guys, they're like big tall guys in black suits, right? And how you have to meet them is you invite them in for a cup of tea. Not for anything else other than that, because see, the evil or a monster or they can't do anything to you unless you acquiesce to that violence, right? So you invite them in for a cup of tea. Wouldn't you like to come in for a cup of tea? Give them a cup of tea. And then you start talking. So where are you from? What you do? What's your mother do? What'd you like to do in high school? What made you go into this kind of, and you just hit them with stuff like that. And they run out screaming, right? And they try to bluster and be badasses. And you just keep being that sweet little ant. And that's why when I first out on the prairie and I would come along ants, I would talk to them. I'd take two sticks and tick, 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 scratch, 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 just like my indigenous brothers and sisters taught me to talk to all my relations, right? Like, if you want to talk to a Frenchman, you don't say, hey, you got to speak English, or I'll speak it slow. No, you speak French, right? You want to talk to the ants, you got to talk like ants. You want to talk to cows, you got to talk like cows. And I suggest everybody to go hang out with some cows. Wherever there's a cow, a farmer with cows, driving along the road and you see the cows on the side of the road, you stop and you pick up some grass and you put it in your hand, they'll come over and chop on it. They want to share with you. And they are the sweetest, nicest creatures. Like I said, they're just big dogs. That's what cows are. I worked on a farm a couple of times, and they were all dairy farms. And I got to know the cows really well, and the whole thing about my I was like their friends, So they always, and I was in a place where I was like the farm electrician, and when those milking machines would break, I would go fix them, where in a way that the farmer, my neighbors, could appreciate, because they called up the, AMF or Hudson or any of those companies that made that stuff. Man, it would cost thousands of dollars just to send. Like today, farmers can legally not touch or try to fix their farm equipment. Otherwise, it invalidates the purchase agreement and the warranty, and they still have to pay for it, and the company can come and take the equipment away, even though they bought it. They're not renting it, right? And to fix it, that takes a new RS module. That's another $10,000, Meaning everything is going robot. 5 years, every truck, every car, every kind of equipment like that is going to be run by a robot. And every, doctors, lawyers, judges will be artificial intelligence. There'll be a guy there, but there'll be a screen, and, it'll tell them what, to go for. Right? So, and that's just those two. People who do construction, robots can't quite do that, because you got to move around, do things, think about, this should be this. It's not a set rote thing. Anything set and rote will be taken over by artificial intelligence and robots. Police will be robots. Hey, try and talk to a robot that has the instructions. And if you say, "Excuse me, officer, how about tase you?" And if you don't stay down, they take their big metal foot and put it on your neck, and then take the big sword and chop your head off. He was a threat to my security and the security of the 5 years. 5 years. So that's why we have this little Vogue window where we can change things. And where you first start out is every day and every way you take the piece of the earth and you make it stronger, right? And then you look for the cadre in your neighborhood. That's what I'm going to go up and do today. I always have a white paper. I'm always writing about what's going on, right? And Sensei Al Bob, he's always trying to get people together to love each other. And all the other Bobs, they have their own characteristic and ability, and that's why we're so successful, because we aren't just one size fits all. Bob, Brang. We are Baba Louie. We are all things Bob, right? And if you were to read my novel at xratted.blogspot.com. That is 3/4 of one novel. I've written 26 novels. I've written close to 80 short stories. I've written hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of white paper essays. And if I could write them, if my my printer would, put white letters on black paper, I would call them black papers, but paper is white. Because all us Bobs here, we are African Americans that are just melanin challenged. Even Cowboy Bob, who's so fond of being white, he understands he's African American. He's just in denial, right? But he's got his good points. He really does. He does. So let's see what you guys are saying here. Let's see. Will Cox, yep. Yep, okay. Definitely working for them now. Yeah, well, he's working for somebody, that's for sure. But that still doesn't negate information. You can take information from any source. It's like working in the intelligence line. You take everything in and you parse it out. Go look up that word parsing. What are those guys? Skull and crossbone, pirate, parlay, parse. Those are two really great French-English words. Parlay means, okay, we're all gonna stop trying to kill each other and sit down and talk and work it out, parse it out, take it apart. The psychosocial, cultural, forensic, take it apart. Look at every thread. So you see all this information, you take it apart, and so, yeah, my little spidey sense of, and I met those guys. I mean, Wilcox has been at it for 20 years, and I was still, I had been Grandpa Smurf of that whole community on the East Coast, especially New York. And then I got tired of that whole high school blah, blah, blah. And that everybody was so sanguine. I was always about having a good time, really good time. Come on, guys, let's all go to the clubs. I can get you in there free. And I don't know. It's so here we are. What was I going to talk about today? But Thanksgiving, giving thanks, giving. What we are here to give. That's what we're here, not to take. We're here to give. What makes us happy? But when we see other people happy, that's what makes me happy. I got $150 in my pocket to last until middle December, and I'm still, hey, come with a breakfast because this is only $8. $8. I can come, eat this one meal, and I'll still have $144. Maybe 142 after. And I always give a good tip. You know what tip stands for? To ensure proper service. So, so just here it is Tuesday, and this Thursday is going to be Thanksgiving. So, and you just don't go to the supermarket and give them an extra $4 to put a few cans in a box for a homeless guy. I mean, yeah, do that, but maybe instead of $4, give them $100, so 100 guys can have some food. But the real thanks is when all through your day, like one of our brethren said there, to help somebody out the supermarket, just like help them like if they can't reach that can, because I'm like, I can't put my arms higher than this. 50 years of putting electric things over my head, it's like burned out every joint in my body. Edgar Casey, he says he's the reincarnation of Edgar Casey. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I spent some time down there on the beach at Casey's Institute. And what's interesting about all of those places is that there's the people who are like the bureaucrats of it. They're the posers of it. And then there's about 40% of like, grandmas and moo-moos and other people who are like always, connected. Like what's his name, And what's his name's come back from Texas and his family. He's back on the hill. And I really want to try my utmost because he really wants to do more YouTubes with me on his channel. But what I want to do is, talking about channel, he is a channel. That's why he is the way he is. All these messages are coming in sideways. And if you basically are hearing voices in a certain context, like do this, well, the DMS says, you're a little schizophrenic, maybe a few other things. But no, if you're getting information, you're like you're a channel, And one of my wives was a channel. Every woman who I was really tight with was either a channel or an intuitive or empathetic, right? Intuitive, I'm an intuitive. I can read people like a book. I can feel what they're feeling, but not what they're feeling. I can sense what direction they're going to go. If I say something, how they're going to relate to it. If they relate to it that way, it represents this. That's my little skill. And that's why I'm a good negotiator. That's why I'm a good shamanic, psychosocial, cultural, forensic, anthropologic alchemist. I can bring forth an outcome, right? And because I'm not serving myself, I am serving the betterment of love's co-creation, whatever comes out is going to be good. I don't know what's going to come out, but it's going to be a lot better than if I wasn't there. So that's why I don't get involved in anything unless I can bring forth a positive outcome. And usually I'm in the back. Let's see, go ahead, Jacob Casey, praise your... Yep. I give thanks for all your genius, my family. You like that chapeau, eh? And I think Casey's most important vision, I remember when I was young and I read his first little book about how this all came about and that he used to study as a kid by putting the book under the pillow and then he'd wake up knowing everything. I tried that. Didn't work out too good. A little bit, but not, I had to kind of go through the book. And that's when I learned Evelyn Wood's speed reading so I could sing through it. And then the parts I really wanted to understand, I would read out loud so I could hear it. And then I'd write it down and I go, oh, that's what that's about. And that's what you do with your dreams. You take your little smartphone, you put it on record, I dream about blah, 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 blah. Then go back to it and listen to it at your convenience. And now it's on this device that you can stop it, you can pause it, you can go back, you can go forward, and you write it down. And at school, we took notes not to remember, but to understand. There's a thing in our little brain, little connection called Gestalt, which in German means lightning understanding. So you're listening to it, and you write it down, you go, wow, that's why that happened. Wow, that's what this dream means. You only hear good voices. That's good. That's good. Synthetic telepathy. When I was at Duke in '68, that's what the SEAL Corporation was going for. They were looking for technical means, a device that would enhance people's psychic ability, their physical ability. They were looking to build super soldiers. And I kind of stumbled in it to a woman who was working on that program. And I was in New York, and the Theosophical Society was playing around with sensory deprivation tanks. There was a guy who had a thing called the Dieter factor. And he was an extraterrestrial. He came from another planet. He was a white Nordic. And boy, this guy, every month he had a different, unbelievably gorgeous, brilliant girlfriend. And I hung out with him because when the next one would come around, the last one would like, well, I'm not with him, but you're the next best thing, So, Baba Booey here, cowboy Baba Booey, knows which side his bread is buttered on. So go look up. I'm sure the Dieter factor is in the thing somewhere because this guy, and he had other technology. I mean, I was his Tesla file, right? And he loved coming to my loft, my Mohawk electric loft, and just meditating. And he's the guy who picked up all the vibrations. I mean, I could sense there were vibrations going on there, but he could resonate with them. Well, my soul match, synthetic quantum entanglement. These are all, singularities. I mean, these are all things that truly exist. They are there. But I forgot the physicist, but he basically said, Heidenberg, maybe, whenever you look at something, you're pushing the answer. You're influencing what you're looking for, right? So again, this is when you have to have this egoless ego. So all those things that you're talking about there, quantum entanglement, that is an idea. See, that's one of the problems about physics. And Newton did this on purpose. He was a alchemist. He was a grand wizard. He, not the Ku Klux Klan, but a higher esoteric order. And he understood, ether and the whole thing about singularity and the whole thing about, free energy, all of that. But he knew that if he said anything about it, the Catholic Church would off with his head. So he developed the physics that we have right now, based on putting our God-given spirit of love's co-creation into a prison of singular observation of the mud puppet world, right? So all you're doing in science today, and the Catholic Church let it happen because it's a religion, and the Catholic Church owns the scientific religion. Half the people, they own NASA. They own the Hubble telescope. Every important observatory that we put up in space is owned by the Catholic Church. Every observatory on this earth, the big ear in Puerto Rico, owned by the Catholic Church. The big glass eyes on the top of the Hawaiian mountains, So you can see all these things. You just have to step back and get perspective. So, you guys are just as good at picking up what's going on. You're part of Bob's family, right? All Bob's family. You're all Bob's relations, right? All us cowboy Bobs, and you can be a cowboy Bob too. I've given a few of you names. You can be a cowboy. You need first. You need a hat, right? Then you gotta like cows and horses and chickens and animals and not want to eat them. And if you do, you have to give it a gracious thank you. Everything needs a. That's why we say grace before we eat a meal, because we're doing a ceremony to give thanks to all that sacrificed itself for our substance, right? Oh, for our substance, right? Dieter factor. Nano. That's what I love about you. See, you guys. That's what I love about you. See, you guys won't get scared by monsters. That's all you got to do is make really bad jokes like that. Bad jokes like that. The woo-woo factor, exactly. And maybe that's what we should call this, the woo-woo factor, instead of the no-spin factor. Of course, anyone who's seen a real crop circle, I mean, they're formed by a flying saucer that comes down and microwaves the wheat, I mean, you go down and you get close to the ground and you look at where every blade of more interruptions. Every time I get into something good, I get interrupted. But that's okay, No, quantum, where did you go? Again, just more people trying to break our little communication here. A quantum is a measurement, and singularity is an experience, is the best way I can put it, And, the singularity of an observation of a stellar experience, it's a singularity, right? When we're looking at the sun or whatever, or other stars or other solar systems, and we see events, that's a singularity. Quantum is a measurement, of energy, and a more, not just watts or ohms or coulombs or lumens, which are singular measurements of energy on an XY coordinate. Quantum is like like a scale measurement. It goes in at least 16 dimensions, probably more, but just in this observational point, it's 16. It's a bunk. That's because they're trying to mix apples and oranges, meaning they're trying to describe the world in a Newtonian. That's why Einstein's stuff is bunk, because his math only works on the macro level, not on the quantum micro level, right? So, and when you try to describe something over here with something that comes from over here, and there's something in between, well, that of course is going to be bunk. So the only place you can truly get, where did Tesla come from? He came from the collaborative essence of love. And that's where, if you really want to study physics, meaning I was an electrical engineer, There's a commercial for the Geico where the scientist is up on a big long ladder and he's figuring out this, one of those mathematical problems that can't be figured out. And did he figure it out? Yes, he was. Is he a genius? No, because there's the janitor who's smarter than he is erasing because he knows that it's useless because this moron didn't get his insurance from Geico. So that's come on, Geico, pay me for that commercial. So if anyone ever is like, and they happen a lot in the UK, but they happen everywhere. They happen here in America. They happen everywhere. Canada, Australia, everywhere. And if there is one near you, you hear about it, you should go and see it. And get down close to the ground where the grass kind of wilts, because you can see there's a little spot there that has been cooked, like microwaved. And it bubbles up the cellular matter, and it lays the grass down. Now, if you view it from far away, it looks like maybe somebody stepped on it with a board. But the real way to see whether it was poke and joke, stepping on a board doing that, and plus the ones with boards. I used to, again, I used to be part of those esoteric groups who would study this stuff, and I was the closest thing they had to a scientist. So, yes, because the technology of the breakaway crew is at least 1,000 years ahead of where we are here today. This cell, it's 1,000 years ahead of this cell phone. And this cell phone is straight out of Star Trek. First off, you have to realize the only aliens that are on this planet, or no, I shouldn't say that. The majority of the aliens on this planet are Homo sapiens sapiens. We are the alien race, us. We are not part of Gaia. We are kind of, because our original, genetic bag of water came from some little cheeky monkey, and the, some alien group who wanted a good slave kind of played with the DNA until they got us. And that's why we're so, angular and so frustrating and so violent, and loves co-creation, is a great jokester, just like you guys. It gave that cheeky little monkey free will more than the aliens had. Gave those cheeky little monkeys a soul, if that's what you want to call it. I mean, it's a lot more complicated than that. It's consciousness. And I love the fact that everything I say, within a few weeks of when I say it, kind of gets absorbed by the major media. And what does that mean? It's not that I'm inventing this stuff. It's just that I look at trends. I look at what's going on. And I'm talking to you guys, which goes out into the World Wide Web, into the larger universe. And anything on the media is scripted. There is nothing. There is, this is the closest thing to spontaneity on the media. Let's see. Just be breakfast. Yeah, man. Those obstacles are done. Yes. Hey, Bob, plenty. Good. That's what I'm going for. Morning laps. Again, go check out that guy who does his morning rambles on, off the grid, living off the grid. I miss my cows. They have. So wasn't your cow, Mike, really the sweetest dog you ever had? Just your best friend. All the cows I took care of were my best friends. And even my dog that was with me when I worked on farms, I would end up, I'd go someplace, and I'd always work for some electrician, and then if I was in a rural farming area, people would realize that I was an electrician. Can you fix this for me? I'll always get electrocuted, It's usually a loose wire somewhere or something, right? And I remember I fixed this guy had about 300 cows, and he had milking machines, and every time he couldn't milk those cows, he was losing a lot of money. And there was a bad ground, and I tracked it down and fixed it, and I saved him. This had been going on to the point where the cows didn't want to, they needed to be milked, those poor cows don't get milked. They're not feeling, I'm going to blow up. Anyway, so I fixed it, and I was the first guy to stick the machine to their tit, and oh wow, that feels so good. And it was amazing. Those 300 cows all kind of gathered around me and hugged me. And from that point on, I could say, come on, girls, let's go over here. And they would do whatever I said. They were better dogs than that dog. And the dog of that farm, he was going, wow, this guy is cool. A lot better than that asshole farmer. And so the farmer then said, well, how much do I owe you? And I said, I don't know. What do you think it's worth? He gave me a check for 10 grand because it was worth 100 grand to him. Right? And then he said, come over here. I want to show you something. And he had this cutest little kind of bunkhouse. He goes, this is kind of where I became Cowboy Bob. He says, you can stay there if you just kind of stick around and make sure things don't go wrong with the electricity, because he hadn't a clue. And every time he tried to screw with it, he'd get electrocuted. So I did. It's a nice little bunkhouse. And I didn't, I liked the smell of cows. It didn't bother me. The chicken poop was a bit much, but he didn't have chickens. It was a chicken farm. So one evening, this terrible thunderstorm, right? And, it's raining like all get out. Knock, knock, knock on the door. And I open up to my little bunkhouse, and there's a Hasidic Jew. I've been living in Williamsburg. I know what these guys, but he was drenched like a rat. And he goes, you're the cowboy electrician. I said, yeah, that's me. He goes, I have a real problem. I'm screwed. I said, what? He says, well, I just got, $80,000 worth of baby chicks, delivered. And then the sunstorm knocked out the power. And if I don't have power, I got to have heat. I got to have water. I got to have ventilation. They'll die. I'll lose $80,000. I said, oh, okay. So he drove me over to his place. I had a little doctor's bag. So I went in there, and what had happened was his chicken farm was totally automated, right? He was a computer guy, computer Hasidic, right? But he had a drunk electrician do it, and so there were like 80 relays in there that sensors and his computer would tell this relay to pull in and make that motor run, pull out, make this fan run. Anyway, so you couldn't tell, and nothing was labeled, and and all the control wire was red. There wasn't even a color code or a marking on any of the wires. You just pulled them through and hooked them up, and it worked, and that was that. And he got whatever this guy paid him, and he had left. It was a big cabinet with all these relays, and these doors open up, and you lift them up and put them over the side so you could work on it without having to screw with the door, right? Well, this moron never put them back on and closed the door. So for like 10 years, chicken poop and feathers got in there and defiled everything. And so I said, so buddy, you must have, you clean your chicken house a couple times, right? You must have a really, steam cleaner, don't you? He goes, yeah, I have one of those. I said, okay, good. And I said, does it run on its own? Do you need electricity? And he goes, yeah. So I said, you got a generator? He said, I got a little one. I said, good. Bring both those things in there. Started the generator, plugged the steam cleaner into it, started up the steam cleaner, and it got the water really hot, and I disconnected the main, and I just blasted that control cabinet with steam and blew all the crap and feathers out of all of those relays, right? And then I turned off the water part of the steam cleaner, so it just had the jet part blowing, once it blew all the water out of it, just blew heated air. So I blew that until all the water was out of the relays. And then he had a generator, right? Backup generator. I said, have you been starting this every month? He goes, no, haven't been doing that. I said, well, you're supposed to, just to make sure for moments like this that this thing's going to work. Anyway, so I go start it up. Doesn't even click. I said, okay. I said, so your big tractor has a big battery? He goes, oh yeah. I said, drive it over here. And we put jumpers onto the generator's thing, and then it would click, right? And then I looked at the starter motor, and it was like, hadn't run in like 10 years. So again, I got out the old steam cleaner and just blew the crap out of the thing, then hit it with the hot air. And they said, okay, buddy, if this doesn't work, you're screwed. Hit the button. 5 kW was coursing through the system, and then I said, got any 2x4s? And he goes, yep. And I said, got a little hatchet? He goes, yep. And he was somewhat handy. Farmers have to be pretty handy. And so, but he had a bunch of Hispanic guys working for him. And so I showed the Hispanic guys, this, I want wedges, right? Take the hatchet, right? He took a long, 2x4, and I pushed the relays in to see what relay did what. And the most important was ventilation, water, and heat, right? So I found those 8 or 10 relays that control that stuff. I pushed them down, and then I had the Mexican guys say, "You got any rubber gloves?" "Oh yeah, I've got some." I put the rubber gloves on the Mexican guys. I showed them how to do it, to hold the thing and hit it with a hammer, so it would jam into the relay to keep it on. So within about an hour of fooling around, I said, he basically the thing worked. Saved his $80,000 worth of, and he goes, "What do I owe you?" I said, "Well, it was worth 80,000, right?" And he goes, "How about you rewire everything here, and I'll give you $80,000?" I said, "Well, okay, sounds like a good idea, but I think I need something for tonight. What do you got?" He goes, "How about I give you some cash? Cash better than a check?" And I said, "Well, don't you want a check to take it off your taxes?" He goes, "Actually, no." And I don't want to explain why, but no. So he runs in the house and he brings out this box and he hands me the box. And he goes, "You can have that." I look in it, it's full of paper, money, green, Benjamins, right? A nice little sum. And I go, "Okay, I won't even count it. I'll just say thank you very much, and we're now buddies, and I'll fix all of this for you, right?" So, in my spare time, I would come over there and fix it for him. Until one day, first things first, I got the relay. I figured out where everything went. I made a drawing. I labeled everything. I replaced the relays and controls that needed that, which was about 80% of making his thing work. But then I went off and checked the system, on the other side of the controls, the motors, of this, of that. And I'm about 70% done. And that place smelled, the real story is about the smell of a chicken farm. And they have these lagoons, right, of where they turn that shit into this almost scary monster, and then they take that and turn it into ammonia, and then use the ammonia as fertilizer to make corn. So it's a big circle. Chicken farms smell really bad. So, and he's got about 20, 30 people working there, and they all look very strange. And so one day, towards the end of me finishing, and I got myself a spacesuit, literal spacesuit, so I didn't have to, because going into, a chicken coop, it had 20,000 chickens. It was like, anyway, so I'm going, it's like something out of, and I'm walking, and, this chicken coop's the size of a football field, and they got one light every, 20 yards. And so you can just barely see, and it's elevated about 20 feet off the ground. So the chicken coop just goes down, and they go in there with a front-end loader and pull it out and throw it in the lagoon. And I mean, it's not the most happy environmental thing, So I'm walking on these 2x6s, and right like that far from either side of me are chickens in a little cage, and they can't move. They're like this. And all they do is squeeze out eggs. And, little conveyor belt brings corn, feed and water, and their poop falls down, and they're just standing on this grid. They can't even lie down, and they're just pooping out eggs, which hits this little thing, and the conveyor belt takes it away, right? And so, and they're so pissed off. They want to kill who's ever walking by them. So I'm walking by, and I'm like looking at, not to get pecked at by chickens, and I'm in my spacesuit. And all of a sudden, boom! I fall down on the ground, and I've fallen on top of two of the workers, a guy and a girl, who are naked, having sex up in the chicken coop, and they're covered in chicken poop and feathers. And I look at their faces, and they both look like chickens because they're covered in feathers. And I was like, in my spacesuit, I book out of there. I'm booking across the farm. I'm ripping off my spacesuit. I get in my car and I drive away, back to my cowboy bunkhouse. And about, 3 or 4 hours, the Hasidic guy shows up and he goes, "What's wrong?" And I told him that story. I said, "Listen, buddy, I have fixed 98%. It all works. It's all good. I'm done." So give me my check. So he does. So I became the cowboy electrician. And people called me Doc because I could fix anything. And not only, then they found out I could fix people. That's where I got the nickname Doc. And I've had that nickname before when I worked at I was at Brookhaven and Los Alamos. Everybody was a doctor, right? But I could actually make things that were pretty amazing and fix things that needed to work. So when I was in New Zealand and did that, this Filipino, no, actually, we were in the Philippines. We were in Manila, and we were rigging our circus in a theater, and the guy who is the inspector came and looked at it and was like, and it wasn't a theater; it was a big space. But we turned it, I brought in a lot of electricity, put our lights, da 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 da, and he said, "You're an EMF mystery." And I said, "What?" Because he was an engineer, so instead of just calling it electricity, electromagnetic force, EMF, because we had motors, we had all kinds of wild and crazy things doing, part of the theater experience. It's like magic. It's kind of you getting people to see things they're really not, because you're twigging their imagination to a point where they're going, "Oh, look at that," and that's where the mystery, yes, EMF mystery. And then when I was working for this engineering firm in Australia, that's when they started, because I was so weird. So wait, you can call me the EMF mystery. And they said, no, because everybody I worked for and around me all had white shirts, black ties, and plastic pen holders, and I had like lime green shorts, flip-flops, and Hawaiian shirt, and a cowboy hat, and mirrored sunglasses, and cowboy boots, and was wearing, and my briefcase was a woman's handbag. So, and I was hired because I could I'm smart or smarter than any of those guys, knew the stuff better than any of those guys, because I've been working in the field. They're just working in an office with a slide rule. And this guy hired me to be the punchless guy, because they would do these gigantic hydro dams and power plants and mines, and they could never get their, last check, because the punch list just kept getting longer and longer. Well, I would show up and I'd stay there until I drove the engineers insane, and they said, okay, the punch list is over, here's the check. And that was really my job, just to freak them out so they'd give that last check. And that's I think that's my best talent. I'm a smart dude. I'm the dude awake 42 at Gmail. So let's see what you guys are saying. Let's see. Well, you said a lot since the last time I looked. I miss my cows. Yeah. Yeah, hugs the cows. Exactly. Yeah, I told you. It's a measurement. It's a verb versus singularity. Now, thank you. That's right. I'll remember that one, Jane. Jane, you're the best. I mean, you're all the best, but Jane, you always put it just the way it should be. You must be a scientist. No. You're not a scientist. You are a EMF mystery. Cutting the bananas, you got to do that. Well, I usually talk long enough for people to jump on. Yeah, Marshall, Jane likes you. Exactly, bent, not broken. Yep, modern science can't do that. Yep. Yep. I used to live in Jamaica, and I lived in this place called the Grill. And when I lived there were no white people. They didn't even have a road. There was no road, no electricity, no water, no nothing, right? And the white folk who were there were the hardy travelers, the young folk, because in Jamaica there's 2 beaches, Negril, Ocho Rios. The rest is a volcanic island and a lot of craggy stuff. So, and the rich English who owned and ruled that place had their big yachts, so they would just go out on the big yachts. And there was tons of islands they could just go play on. So I went to the grill because a friend of mine was building, his cousin had bought a house that a doctor had put right on a cliff, and just about a mile from where the beach started. And this doctor built this beautiful concrete house with a concrete swimming pool and a big, beautiful patio and just really beautiful traditional English estate on the islands, right? With a modern kind of twist. And then, no electricity or water for a number of years, so he sold it to my friend's cousin. And my friend's cousin wanted to turn it into a nightclub. And he wanted to make the swimming pool into the dance floor and put they had kind of like a little bar that you'd swim up to, and that would be the bar, and because it was in the shallow end, so you could stand, and yes, the thing would be a little higher. But anyway, we did it, but he needed electricity because you can't have a Caribbean bar without slushy drinks, right? Or at least ice cubes. So he needed blenders, an ice maker, and lights, right? And fans, right? And there was no electricity, period. And he didn't want to have a big smelly generator making noise and smell. So this again, someone once asked if I know anything about green. So basically, it hadn't been that many years since I was at Cooper Union at the alternative school of engineering. And this place had a really great constant wind, kind of just, right at the cliff level. So he had a big site, so about 200 yards past where the lawn ended and the grove started. I got these guys to get barrels, and I put vanes all around the barrels, right? And then I put a generator, I went on, to Granger. They had a Granger in Kingston, and they had, a 1 megawatt, generator that was about this big, right? DC and a rectifier. So I got 4 of those. We put, and instead of having a pinwheel, wind generator barrel with vanes, and it has so much more torque, and you don't have to have a tower way up in the sky. It's like right there. And I didn't have it, but in other designs that I've had, I made it so the vanes would pull in when the wind got crazy, whereas those big pinwheels can get screwed up by the wind. Anyway, so I did this, in a matter of a month, and again, everyone said, "Wow, this guy's," I said, "I'm the EMF mystery, the magician." Just call me the doctor, because when I lived in England, I used to watch Doctor Who, and so that's another place people called me the doctor. Plus, it was Mrs. Brown who owned the whole beach of Negril, right? And she had a marina and a really great tiki bar, big tiki bar, and she wanted to have electricity and slushy drinks, and that place was called Rick's, like Rick's out of Casablanca, and so so I went nuts. I turned that Rick's into a real nightclub, and his bluff was really not that high above the water, right? And so I had the guys ship out steps, and there were platforms where you could dive, because the deep water came right up to the edge of this cliff, and so you could dive into the water, go swimming around, come up to the steps, and so that was Rick's. And if you go there today, it's still there. Now they have electricity, and now Porter Grill, Sandals, they brought electricity, and the corporations bought Mrs. Brown out. When I was there, it was like heaven, and everyone was beautiful. And Mrs. Brown was the, benevolent dictator, and I was her white boy. I was like her. She could have put a collar on me and had a little. And so I spent a year there. But the story about the bananas is, so above the grill, about 4 miles, and because we're still kind of I mean, that's one of the beautiful things. It's like the Ireland of the Caribbean. That mountains come straight down to the ocean. So I would this one, I was there for about a week. No, when I came down to Mrs. Brown, so I was there about 2 months because I was working on Rick's all the time. I really didn't, go looking for anything else. And but then I kind of, Mrs. Brown came up and saw what I was doing because you need, whatever he's paying you, I'll pay you double. I said, no problem. She goes, I got a great little place for you to stay. I said, oh, okay. So I came down to visit, after I finished Rick's, I came down to Mrs. Brown, and she showed me what she wanted in her marina and nightclub tiki bar. And then she showed me all these beautiful little cinder block houses along the beach that she had made. And she goes, I get everything from Sears, but not everyone can read or understand. No one can understand these. And she got these louvered windows with screens, so a lot of breeze could come through, and the bugs wouldn't get in. And she goes, start you off. First, figure out how to put these in the windows, and my guys will help you. I said, okay. So I read the instructions. I figured it out. This is how it works. I showed the guys, and they were smart once I showed them how to do it. Because the biggest problem those guys had was their feeling of being stupid. They didn't really know what to do with this, so couldn't read the instructions. They couldn't, they didn't want to try. So once I showed them how to do it, bing, they knocked it out. So Mrs. Brown really liked me because I treated everybody really sweet and nice and didn't get in their face. So she was, I got a lot of stuff for you to do. So I did. And once we did those and it came into the season, all these white people showed up and stayed, man. And she got more and more people. And instead of having like 10 or 15 or 20, she was having hundreds of people stay there. She was making serious book just because I figured out how to put glass louvered windows and screens into her little cinder block houses. Anyway, so she gave me a really nice one on the beach. And it was right next to her omelet shop. Now, in Jamaica at the time, it wasn't against the law to smoke reefer, but it was against the law to have rolling papers. It was against the law to have the thing of doing it. And that's why they made spliffs, which were take a newspaper like this, right? Take a newspaper, and you take the whole newspaper, and you kind of roll, you put cannabis leaves in there, and then in the center of that you put what is known as lamb breath. That's the little purple hairs of the female bud. That's really, and the paper is wet, the leaves are moist, the lamb's breath is really dry. And then you kind of roll it up like that, and then you have this big thing that you smoke, and as you smoke it, the paper doesn't quite burn, but the lamb's breath does. So it's almost like a hookah, right? So, and that's what the Rastas smoked. So they'd have these guys. When you see, pictures of Jimmy Cliff and all the reggae guys smoking these big, that's a split. They're not. That's not like all one gigantic joint like Cheech and Chong. It's a split. So I used to go up there, but before I found out where those guys were, up in the red ground in the mountains, above the goat and cow pastures, this young kid, one of Mrs. Brown's nephews, came and goes, "You like to smoke herb?" I said, yeah. Because, well, I'll get, $5. I'll go get you some. I said, no. I think it was like $20. So gave him $20, and he came back with, a key of I'm used to, getting like that much, and it was pretty good, So he comes back, and so I'm settling in. I'm doing Mrs. Brown stuff. More and more tourists are coming, and I'm a healer. I've gone, and I can heal anything, and so I'm giving the tourists massage on the beach. I mean, nice hot beach. They put down their little towel. I've got these nice terry cloth big towels from Mrs. Brown, and she gave me a little section of the beach, and I would charge people $10 a massage. And they thought that, anyone who had a massage, $10, wow. I give them a really good massage, a nice half-hour massage, right? Where they get up and go, wow. Because, I use my little shamanic talents and alchemical talents and balance their chi and did things like that. But that most massage people. They just treat the body like, body work, like banging out dents. Anyway, so I would, you know, $10. Mrs. Brown got $1. I got 9. I would do between, in an afternoon from noon, or I usually started from 11, depends on what I had to do. But, 3 or 4 hours a day, I would do that. I'd make $100, $200, $10 a pop. And Mrs. Brown loved it. It really gave a cachet to her that she could advertise, magic healer on the beach. Anyway, so she had all of, she had the marina, she had her tiki bar, but she also had these little shacks. She had a fish shack, she had omelet shack, she had a pasty shack. These are these baked things with stuff in it, right? Sweet ones. Anyway, and these Jamaican grandmas, ooh baby, you talk about Jamaican food, this was Jamaican food. So, and that was tourist food, right? And each person, $1, whatever, and those guys would make, $400 or $500. And Mrs. Brown would take most of the money, and everybody else would get a cut. And she was like grandma. She was Auntie. She was known as Auntie Brown. I call her Mrs. Brown. Anyway, after Mrs. Brown, you have a lovely daughter, and she had 4 lovely daughters. And she wanted me to marry one of them. She goes, marry one of them, take them back to America, make them, so I can retire in America. I mean, she had it figured out. So, I was having a pretty good life. And this is going on about 6 months. And I was only going to be there for a couple of weekends, right? And I just got it. My friend got, a few $100 to get a airplane ticket to go to Jamaica, and you didn't need a passport. You just needed some kind of. I used my phone bill to get on the airplane and go through Jamaican customs. And I was only going to be there a couple of weeks. It's going on 6 months, so I only was, I brought 1 pair of pants, 1 Hawaiian shirt, 1 pair of sneakers, and a hat. That was it. Something like this, my cowboy hat, and. So I'm there 6 months. Now that Hawaiian shirt is all tattered. I haven't washed anything. It's like all these clothes are like rotting off my body and falling apart, right? And so she starts, her one daughter was pretty good at sewing, so her daughter starts taking her old dresses and making me clothes for them. So I'm starting, I like this dress. This is like really nice. It's like not like pants, I'm just ready to go. Just lift that dress up. Why do you girls just wear dresses? Guys should wear dresses. This is good. I like this. So she made me like cowboy, buckaroo bonzo dress pants. Anyway, because she liked it and I was ready to go too. So those 4 girls freaking shared me. They weren't jealous. They were like, he's our buckaroo bonzo Bob. So and I'm 22. This is when you're 22, you're up for anything. I actually had testosterone in those days. So I'm Auntie, Mrs. Brown's number 1 boy. All the guys who work for it really love me because I give them all. This guy is so smart. He's so good. He's so great. Everyone's happy. Everyone in that town loves me because I tip everyone, right? So they go, no, you can spend money here. I said, fine, okay. So you're not going to charge me for that meal or that drink or that whatever. This is a tip. And they go, tip? What's that? To ensure proper service. And they would giggle and say, yeah, that's a good idea. And the guy who gave me my first key for $20, he kept giving me other ones. The next one was $15, then $5, and then, just gave it to me, right? And then I said, so I got to meet the guys, and that's when I was taken up to Red Ground, where the Rasta Boys were. So I'm up there, and I get to really, and that sound of reggae, that 1-2 beat, do, 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 do. You know where that comes from? So all these Rasta guys wanted to be Jimi Hendrix. So they went into their Sears catalog. They got themselves Sears electric guitar, electric amplifier, and a 2-stroke generator. So that choo-choo-choo, choo-choo-choo, choo-choo-choo sound of reggae music comes from the Sears 2-stroke generator. There it is right there. Yeah, a little bit of shaft there. Anyway, so that's where I learned how to smoke split with the Rasta boys. So after I'm there 6 months, I am kumbaya with everyone, mostly. And I would walk up through the jungle. There was, about 4 miles of jungle. It was a little teeny path, but you actually had to know that path, or unless you were really observant, you would get lost, and that they would find you later being eaten by monkeys. Anyway, so I'm going up there, and I see all these bananas everywhere, all this fruit, these mangoes, and all this Caribbean, Jamaican fruit everywhere. So one day I'm going to, and I take a banana. Boy, that's so good. So I throw it down on the ground, and I'm walking, and I go, you know what? I'm just going to pick a bunch of this stuff for the boys. Might bring them something nice, make them a nice fruit salad. And so, so I'm starting to pick fruit, and it's the jungle to me. And this guy jumps out of the. What are you doing? It's my bananas. And I go, what? Yeah, this is my farm. I said, this is a jungle. Well, I own the jungle, so get out. I said, but I'm on the path. He goes, well, stay on the path. Don't pick any of my bananas. And that was like, I said, hey, I'm Mrs. Brown's boy. And he goes, I don't care. This is the mountains. I don't care if Esther, I think he knew who I was, but because he used her first names like he really knew her. And I called her Mrs. Brown, but not Esther. Anyway, so I go up. So that's the banana connection there, right? So you can't just go pick anyone's bananas, even if you think you're in a jungle, right? So anyway, I'm there 6, 7 months, and I've gone to the capital, Kingston. And man, this was in the 60s when the politique there, Manly was was like off the hook. It's like Bed-Stuy in the 80s. So anyway, so I'm there, and my one little foray into Kingston. I went to Kingston to look for these generators for Rick's Cafe. And as I was poking around looking for stuff, someone said, so do you know about electronics? I said, sure. I used to build recording studios. And he goes, you did? Oh, we have one here. So they took me to where the Wailers played, And it was originally Jimmy Cliff's, who is my favorite of all time Rasta Jamaican music, Jimmy Cliff. I mean, I love the other guy, but Jimmy Cliff's my man. Anyway, so I met all those guys fixing their board. Some they just kept dropping cokes and coffee into the pots, and not what you smoke, but the potentiometers, the little sliders. So I, ripped the board apart, and they go, oh, "You're not supposed to do that." I ripped the board apart. I'm like showing I said, "You got any kids here?" Kids, yeah, people who will listen to what I'm saying and do what I do, right? So they gave me a bunch of kids between 14 and 17, and I showed them how to scrape the crud off the potentiometers, right, and how to solder. There were a lot of wires that had just been eaten away because the coke would go on the wires and the mice would come in and chew up the wires. Anyway, so we ride, and they said, wow, and we did it like in a weekend, right? And Rick was there, and so he became the fat daddy of that, and then they started playing at Rick's. Oh, that was it, So Rick loved me too. I mean, I could do anything in that club. I mean, he would want me to come and do anything, bring people, do things. I always had, my money was not good at Rick's. And so I mean, there's a place I could have stayed, but I didn't. Because you say, well, Cowboy Bob, how come you didn't stay at that perfect, beautiful place? Well, this is what happened. So, in the omelet shop, rolling papers were illegal. You get 10 years for them. But mushrooms, psilocybin mushrooms, were totally legal because they were found in cow pies. And the old ladies would go up there, early in the morning, pick all the mushrooms, clean them off, and then make psilocybin mushroom omelets with goat cheese. Good. And I don't know how they made those mushrooms taste good, but they sure did. So people would get it and would go off. So that was part. I'd have a pot of mushroom tea and a mushroom omelet and a couple of spliffs, and I'd be all right for the day. I'd go and do a bunch of massaging, and boy, would I really be, and I would have maybe 20 clients, and 18 of them would be naked women, and the other two guys. But everyone got a great massage, and I didn't do ever anything. I was always the whenever I do anything, I am the consummate professional. But I was so out there that that juice was going into people, and they go, oh, I'm seeing things. So that had a real cachet to it. So, and I'd always have a girlfriend. So, and this was the early '70s, you know. And it's interesting. Horrific things always go on. They're just being more advertised now. I mean, I went to a seminary to be a priest, and I saw what Catholic Church priests did to little boys. You know. Anyway, and I always, I don't have a shield from, I can't watch that. I see what's going on, and if it's wrong, I try to make it better. I don't get involved unless I can make it better. Right? And that's a lesson I'm trying to give to you, family. Everything you do, and every day and every way, make it better. Get involved. You don't have to have a gigantic organization. You don't have to change it. Make it better. We all make a little bit better, and that's all it needs. It just needs a little nudge. So anyway, there I am on the beaches of Negril. Now the season has totally gone. Now, I mean, for a good 8 months, there were tons of people. This was the best year Mrs. Brown ever freaking had. I'm like the golden goose. Everyone loves me. And because I'm sweet and nice, and I know my place. I know, you don't, women don't even have to say no to me. I can tell what they want before they, I even say, hi, how you doing? So, if you're that kind of sensitive, empathetic, it's all good. You never step over the line. So, there I am, 7, 8 months into living in heaven. I had got this beautiful house on the beach. People giving me, taking care of me. I just, every day is a joyous day for me. But it's starting to move into the rainy season, and there aren't that many tourists, and I'm just hanging out. And everyone's fine because they've had the best season they've ever freaking had, ever. And, Mrs. Brown's all set for me to marry one of her daughters, or maybe all four, if that can be arranged. And and she's going to retire with this money to America, right? That's like in her little plan. Me, I'm just happy to be there, right? I'm in my tattered clothes, and I am so on another planet. I've had like 6 omelets and 5 pots of tea and about 20 spliffs, so I'm like not feeling any pain, and so. I start to see myself as a balloon. I kind of wake up, and I'm like, 100 yards into the air, over out the ocean, and I look back and I see this little body leaning up against a, palm tree. That's me down there, but my consciousness is floating away. Whoa, and I come back. And so I go, oh man, I can't let myself be a balloon. So I have this little rope tied around my waist, holding what little bits of my pants together, and I tie it around my leg and tie it to a palm tree next to me so I won't float away. This is how I'm going, right? So I'm there, and I'm like feeling no pain, and I feel myself bobbing, this little balloon, and tugging at the rope. But I'm not going over the ocean to float away. I'm just right kind of there, bobbing away. And all of a sudden, I kind of smell. Before I smell, then I hear, and I look up, and there's a Land Rover coming across the beach. Well, no vehicles ever come on that. Not even the cops. They have these like little mopeds, and they don't even do that. But these guys, they're wearing polyester. If you ever see people in polyester leisure suits, run. Get out of the way. I mean, that's the SS, that's the Nazis, that's the death squad, you know? So they come and they stop. There's nobody else on the beach but me, and my leg is tied to the beach. So I get up, I try to run away, boom, I fall over because my leg is tied to a tree, right? Boom, fall down, boom, fall down. And then they come and this one guy puts his boot, I mean, he's wearing a leisure suit, but he's got army boots, puts it on my neck. He goes, "Where are your papers?" And I go, "Papers? What papers?" And I said, here's my electric bill." He goes, "No, no. Now, where's your papers? Your passport, your anything, picture, shows who you are, where you come from." And Mrs. Brown, which she never left her chair, she's like running across the beach. "No, no, 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 that's my boy, that's my boy. No, 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 he's my boy. Don't touch him. Don't, you know." Now she's the most powerful person that they couldn't care less. They just go straight for me. So they pull me up and they tie my hands behind my back with baling wire and pick me up like a bag of potatoes and throw me in the back of their Land Rover. And I'm thinking to myself, because I know about the death squads, this is manly, they have, shootouts and people disappear. And the CIA's there in a big way because they're the major drug dealers, they're the major purveyors and I mean, why is it legal there? Because illegal there? Because they don't want anybody to mess with their business. So that's what happens. I'm going, I'm going to become fertilizer. This is not good. So they take me to the police in that little shack and down the beach and say, who is this guy? And they go, "Oh, that's Mrs. Brown's boy." And he goes, "What's he?" "Oh, he's everyone loves him. He's okay. He's from America. He's from New York. He's got his electric bill. He's fine. He's good." And luckily for me, these guys weren't the death squad. They were the federal police. So they get me up, unclip my hands, and they drive me to Kingston. They drive into their little office, and they get a big yellow tag like this with a string, and they write on it "deported," and they misspelled it. It's spelled "deported," right? Whatever that meant. And they put it around my neck, and they marched me. They took back in the Land Rover and drove me right on the tarmac, right up to an airplane, Air Jamaica airplane, and I went up the steps. Is my waitress still around?
I'll be right there.
Oh.
We're now out of the town. I'll see you when you get here. Bye. There you go. That's yours.
Gotta take care of the coffee. So anyway, I go up the steps of the Air Jamaica plane. I'm met by this very attractive Air Jamaican stewardess, and she goes, "We've been waiting for you. We have your seat right here for you." And I'm looking out into the back, from the door to the rest of the plane, and that's like every seat is full. So, do I have to sit in the toilet? "Oh no, you're in first class." And she pulls the curtain away, and the first class is pretty much, and there's one seat. The favorite seat you have is the right before the bulkhead of where the pilot is. So there is no seat in front of you. So there's a big, you just lean your legs out. It's all good. And there's this woman who's right in the seat there by the window. She's got a mink coat. I mean, here it is, Jamaica. It is like friggin', 89 degrees, and she got her pearls and her Chanel dress and her high heels, and she's maybe 50 something, and she's kind of fat and not she stayed in the sun too much, so her face is totally peeling. She looks like she has leprosy, and she's really upset that I am about to sit down because my clothes are falling off my body. My junk is hanging out right in front of everyone. And when the stewardess saw me and looked right at my junk, it's like, when what's his name meets a well endowed woman, he's always like right there. She was like, oh. Anyway, so I'm sitting down, and the lady goes, "You can't sit here." I said, "Why not?" The stewardess just put me here, And look, I'm depoted. I got to see a whole thing around my neck, and she's like losing her friggin' mind. And the stewardess comes over and says, "Listen, ma'am, if you do not calm down, you'll be taken off this airplane and arrested." And she's like, Anyway, so we take off, and they bring. Can I have a little coffee? And she goes, "What do you want?" And I said, "Well, what do you got?" She goes, "Well, we have some patties." I said, "Patties, whiskey? You can't get that in America because it's RAA, gun money from that whiskey. It's everywhere else, the best whiskey in the friggin' world, better than any single malt you could ever find." Anyway, so I said, "Oh, wow, bring me a bottle." I'm just kidding. She brings me a bottle and a glass. And she goes, "Would you like a chaser?" And I go, she goes, "I'll bring you some champagne." She brings me a bottle of champagne and a fluted glass. So I'm like, and I'm still flying high on those mushrooms and the spliffs. So I am really feeling no pain. And
Is it regular coffee?
yes, high test, please. And so I'm just having a great old time. So the food comes, and she goes, we have filet mignon and lobster. And I said, "I'll take both." She does that. And the woman next to me is just, so she can't enjoy anything. So she gets roast beef and a baked potato. Anyway, I'm like chowing down on this, and I go, "You gonna finish that potato?" And I spear it with my fork and start eating it. She's like, just more. Thank you, darling. And the stewardess loved it because she was a real bitch to them, and so they can't. They are giving me all the attention, and every time they come to my seat and my junk is hanging out, they're like, So anyway, we get off, land at Kennedy. We're going through the thing, and the stewardesses go, "You should come with us. We have our little apartment in Queens, and we can have a good time." And I go, "Yeah, girls, let's go." Well, because I'm being deported. This, rent-a-cop comes and gets me and brings me. And I don't know why they do this, but all international aircraft land about the same time. So, for hours, there's nobody at customs, and then there's a zillion people there. Anyway, so this guy walks me to the front of the friggin' line, and I'm like, and it's February, or, it's snowing. So it's whatever it is, but it's the end of the season in Jamaica, but it's still winter in New York. And anyway, so I'm, just still like, and the guy looks at me, and I got this riding clothes, cowboy hat, cowboy boots that are like, there are no bottoms to the cowboy thing. They've been turned, now these ridiculous cowboy sandals. Well, I invented them first because one of my friends, because when the bottoms of my cowboy boots wore out or they just didn't work in the sand, he made them into cowboy sandals. Anyway, so I'm really looking amazing. And so the guy looks at me, he goes, "It says that you have no proof of who you are." I said, "Sure, I have proof." He goes, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." "You got a phone book here?" And this is back in the day when they had phone books. He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Look up Matt Ruff." Because back in the day, you could put any name in the phone book, right? So, because I was a dog boy in those days, so, right? And Matt, you could walk on me. And that was part of the joke. Anyway, so he looks up, and I said, "Dial that phone number." And my roommate will answer, and when you use my name, he will say, "Kill that guy. He owes me $500. Put him in jail. Blah blah blah." "Yes, he's my roommate, but he owes me $500. Right? So he calls him up, and that's exactly what my roommate does. "Put him in jail. He owes me $500. Yes, he's my roommate. So. And he goes, is there one other person? I said, yeah, call my mom. Because my last year at Hofstra, my last semester at Hofstra, after I come back from Ireland and there was nothing there for me, but my parents wanted me to go to college. Even though I had this amazing career on 5 different levels, I said, okay. Um, because my mother, they're going to send you to Vietnam if you're not in college. And I said, eh. So I said, call, because that semester I split. And I was at the line of the bursar's office, and I said, my parents already paid? Yep. And I already knew that they would give me the money right then and there if I said, okay, I'm not going to school, I'll sign that piece of paper, give me the cash. So I did, and I kind of went traveling. I mean, that's when I went to Duke and other places. I was a newspaper photographer. I didn't break the law. Mike Draftboard just couldn't find me. It was like Jesus. Well, he was just here, but don't know where he is now. Anyway, so this guy calls up my mom and says, "Is your son so and so?" Yes. Is he with you? Yes. Put him in jail. He deserves to be in jail. And the guy, yes, ma'am, hangs up, and he's laughing. He goes, "Okay, that's obviously you. You can go." And the woman who sat next to me on the airplane, the rich woman, starts screaming, "He's a criminal! Just let him go!" And he kind of goes down the line, says, "Okay, ma'am, come here, bring your bags." And he goes, so, and she's screaming about me. He goes, "Forget that. You got anything to declare?" She goes, "Of course not. He's the criminal. He's the criminal." He picks up her bags, he drops them on the floor, and she had stuffed her suitcases with rum. Now, all she had to do was declare them and pay like $10, and she would have gotten like $300 worth of rum, for $10. But no, they all broke. All her clothes were full of glass shards and rum, and they took her away for trying to defraud the government and smuggling. Which is going to cost her 20, 30 grand to get a lawyer to get out of it, and still she'll have to pay a fine, and it'll be on her record as a, felon. And they pull her away, and everyone's like getting more freaked out, because here's this guy who's half naked in Hawaiian shirt and cowboy, thongs, and a rotting cowboy hat that kind of looked like this, and the guy looks at me and goes, "It's snowing out there, and you're barely got bare feet, and you got no coat, and where are you gonna go? How are you gonna get? I'm gonna go Manhattan. I'm gonna go. Your roommate's gonna throw you out. Nah, he won't throw me out." He goes, "How are you gonna get home?" I said, "I don't know. I'll walk." I said, "What?" He goes, "Along the Brooklyn Queens Expressway? What are you, nuts?" I go, "I don't know. I'll figure it out." And he goes, No. He takes out of his wallet $20. Jackson hands it to me. He goes, "Go get yourself a cab." So I go out there. It's snowing. It's like the wind is blowing in my face. Yeah, it's freaking cold, but I am so toasted. I am so baked. It's like refreshing. I'm looking around, and the snow is like piling up around my, cowboy flip flops, and this cab pulls right, stops, rolls on the window, and this big cloud of blue smoke of ganja comes towards me, and this dreaded, "Hey man, where you going?" And I go, "I'm going into, Brooklyn." He goes, "Oh, I'm going to Brooklyn. This is my last trip. I'll take you there. Come on, get in." So I get in, and he's looking at me in his rearview mirror. He goes, "Where you come from, man?" I said, "I just came from the grill." I mean, yeah, I just came from the grill. "The grill in Jamaica?" I said, "Yeah, that's where." He goes, "Really? Who'd you stay with?" I said, "Mrs. Brown." "Mrs. Brown? Mrs. Brown is my auntie." So he drives me to his apartment in Queens, and I spent a week there eating his amazing, because he wanted to come to New York and start a Jamaican restaurant because his auntie Brown showed him how to cook everything. All those little shacks, he was one of those shack guys. And he's just making the money driving a cab so he can open his restaurant. And we became great friends, and I turned him on to some restaurant people I knew, and he started his restaurant with them as the backers and me building it. So that's my Jamaican story, and I'm sticking to it. And that shows that all you got to do is trust in love's co-creation. That whole 8 months was me having faith in love's co-creation, right? Faith that it's all going to work out. I didn't plan anything. I was only going there for 2 weekends, and I ended up there 7, 8 months, and having this amazing story. And I had all these amazing friends, and this guy, he was my lifeline to Jamaica, and a few other friends that I had there who lived in New York and bought some properties there. And once they saw what this guy did with the doctor's house and Rick's, they did similar things. And they always come on back to me, we'll go have some fun. As the years went, Mrs. Brown sold the whole beach to this corporate conglomerate who brought in the highway, the water, the electric, and the sandals there, hedonism is there, and they turned it into a cesspool, literally. And all those beautiful people, every Wednesday and Sunday they would have church on the beach, and all the little girls would be in their pinafore dresses and beaming Jesus through them. Now they're all dead of being crack whores. It's like AIDS hit that place like an atomic bomb, crack hit it like an atomic bomb. It was like, so I have a real gift to going someplace, a gift and a curse, because I show up and it's heaven, beautiful, really great. I have a great experience, a year, 8 months, whatever, and then I leave, and then 10, 15 years later I hear what has happened to it. It's like I have I was in Soho before it became Soho, Tribeca before it was Tribeca, Williamsburg, Brooklyn before, did all these things all over New York, and every time I left, they became the hot spot, the great place, the it. And then instead of staying at that level of continuity and integrity, everyone went for the cheap buck. Right? I'm not against money. It's a tool. It's a mechanism. And what's going to happen within 18-month window, we're going to have economic collapse like you can't believe. And we will be rebranded, and our face will be our money, and everyone who joins up will be given $300,000 in their account. Now, if you give everyone $300,000 and that dollar is backed by blockchain, it's going to be worth, the new what it's worth. And just like the dollar was worth, Rome and the United States its empire was built on silver. They had silver ducats and silver dollars, and this will be the same thing. And if you join up, they will give you $300,000 right off the bat, and forgiven of whatever crime you might have committed, you're now a citizen of the new order. And I would suggest everyone join up, because you take their money and play the game doesn't mean you sell your soul. Your soul is yours. Don't be the real bait and switch. Is they bait you with the 300 grand and the citizenship, which will give you freedom. But the switch they want you to do is to give them your soul. No, you don't have to do that. Okay. So, here we are, 1 hour, 37 minutes, and 35 seconds. I'm going to say goodbye at 37 seconds. Here it is. I love you guys. See you tonight at 7. Johnny will probably be right there in the screen, and that's where I'm going to try and get him to be the channel. Okay, gang. I love you guys. Have a beautiful day. And every day in every way, take the peace of the earth and make it stronger. And be that person who you're meant to be. I love you guys. Let's see. Let's take a look at some of your contents there. Praise Bob. Church of the Subgenius. Hey, why do you think I use it? Let's see. Related to Edgar Casey, please. That's right. Our loving genius hearts. All our family, all our relations. We love you all. That's most dapper. Oh, you like my chapeau? I've always had a good eye for hats. Remember to thank. And from now, every day and every way, take that love and peace of co-creation and give thanks so you can walk in grace. That's what you want to do. Walk in grace. Yeah, he doesn't look like him at all. Voice just. Ow. Like synthetic telepathy. Okay, all that stuff. Like he. Some folk get clairvoyant, other clear gifts. Deeds. Okay. Well, it's we all have it. It's whether we can illuminate it. Nano. Yep. Woo woo factor. Yep. We're entering the woo woo factory. I'm gonna take that. That's gonna be a new show on my channel, the Woo Woo Factor. You are now entering the Woo Woo Factor. I like it. Of course, I've seen them. Yes, crop circles do exist. But quantum this, quantum that. Yep. Whoever. I miss my cows. Me too. Yep, measurement. Yes. Miss Jane, you are the bomb. You all the bomb. All the bomb. And that guy in the Geico commercial, he looks like a thin version of me. Yep, crops are bent, not broken. So, Marshall, when you and Jane want to take a vow, I'm your guy. I'm actually licensed to do it as a shaman. I love bananas. Cows are awesome. A lot of good guys in the arena. Yep. We are all those good guys in the arena. All our relations. They are. When they're little cows, they're just so sweet. Especially when they're just born and you can kind of hold them in your arms. I used to do that. Because I kind of hung out with a woman who was a midwife. I became a doula. So, I was doula to cows. Making them feel good. But they're, mama cows know what they're doing. I've never seen a bad birth of a calf. Well, when anybody sneaks up on you, they have a great sense of humor. But they're so loving. Well, dairy cows, they can get big. And the thing is, you don't want to get between the side of a cow and a wall. I always would address cows straight on, eye to eye. And I'd always kiss them and then let them kiss me. They do love to kiss you. They like the salt. Yep. You guys come visit me in the spring in the deep green. We'll have a great time. I mean, you really will. I mean, I have one of the largest lakes in the Northeast right down the street from me. I got a river right over there and a waterfall in my backyard, And I have all these nature spirits who come and visit. We'll build a sweat. We'll do ceremony. We'll pick berries. I'll show you herbs. Give you classes in herbs, healing, and ceremony. Yeah, I know. Poor England and poor Europe is like burning up in the summer and being an ice cube in the winter. You're losing your moderation. Yep. All the little things that make a home. Exactly. You're the master of service. Yeah, I noticed that. And servitude is a very interesting word because you're giving service to the tude, which is all our relations, all our attitude, our multitude, all those tudes. You're all the star. Jane's just the Jane. Like Jane and Tarzan. No kidding. They're all over the place. Me and Archie went all over Europe finding pyramids and ancient alien sites, which still aren't even, I mean, they were all taken over by the military and rich people and the Catholic Church. Every time we would discover something, the Catholic Church would not be far behind. Well, things are always right in front of us. We don't have to be told by the authorities. The story the authorities give us is their take on it, the direction they want to spin it. There's the no spin factor with the woo-woo factor. Yep, totems. Find your animal totem, gang. Remember to meditate. Remember to breathe. And if you come and visit me in the deep green, that's where we will, we do ceremony. You'll definitely learn a thing or two. Yeah, they're all over the United States. Especially the Midwest. Near the Great Lakes, tons of that stuff. Yep, they sure are. That's why they have the powers that shouldn't be put up the Georgia stones, to disconcert. Yep, the mounds we didn't build. They're billions of years old. They're pyramids. Yeah, they're connected through ley lines, energetic ley lines. Tesla did the same thing with Eastern Long Island. He turned it into a gigantic phased array, and that's what Earth is, a gigantic phased array for spiritual energy, or scalar energy, or orgone energy, however you want to describe it. It's all the same thing. For thousands of years, these mountains must have looked massive. They were pyramids, just, the pyramids that we have all around the world, in South Central America, Egypt, Africa. The ones that we can see above the ground are just like the ones, it's just millennia have covered them up. They're machines. They're energetic machines. That's how these folks, any of you guys go on and see the movie Forbidden Planet, and the ancient alien species who died off had this underground machine that still was working, that would manifest anything they wanted. All they had to do was think of it. That's what that stuff was. So, a guy. I wonder if the guy who put that show together went to Negril. Yeah. Okay, I'll go. Tonight I will go dig up some clear pictures of the younger me. He pretty much looks like the older me, just with no gray hair. And between the age of 18 and 35, I stayed at 175 pounds. But at 35, I started, I kind of focused on my business self and had a pretty comfortable life, as they say. And then once I got 50 and I worked in the corporate world for the desperate lawyers, I became a hedonist, and I gained 250 pounds. So 170, and then I gained 60 pounds, and then you add on 250. You saw the pictures of me as Gorgo, the sweaty Gorgo. I'm glad I don't sweat like that anymore.
I know.
Okay, lads, and lassies. And when you come and get the green, I will try and get my birth certificate and get my. Hopefully by then we'll have this new world order and we can go anywhere in the world we want once we join the club. Okay, James. Why do you think I do this? I feel you guys' love for me and my love for you. And what makes me happy is making you happy. Okay? Loves and kisses. So I'll see you tonight, 7 p.m. around, I'm never always right at the point. But I love you guys. Talk to you later. Yes, I do want to leave my friends, but I'll see them again.